Hi, this is Rick with Dale Carnegie Training, and welcome to Coaching and Culture Session 2. This is a review or follow-up meeting to our December 15th Coaching and Culture workshop that we did for Coldspring, and it's part of an ongoing, continuing commitment to the goals that we set and setting new goals as we move forward during this sales transformation process. This meeting will be followed by a February meeting and a March meeting as we continue to work through the Salesforce transformation. Today's session is a review of what we covered on Wednesday, January 14th. So Maureen Tubbs, who is our instructor, opened up the session with just kind of a high-level review of where we went last month, where we talked about different attitudes that people might have as they go through a transition, and where we are, whether we are negative or neutral or positive. We looked at also the innovation process, where we put some ideas out on a board. We did some green light thinking and some brainstorming about different things that we might anticipate in terms of coaching to help people make adjustments in the culture. We also looked at a three-step method for storytelling. That's part of the ongoing process. We also uncovered some opportunities where we might be able to use stories as evidence in persuading people. Sometimes people are persuaded by facts, statistics, just do it because I tell you to. Sometimes a softer approach might help people come around to our way of thinking better. If we can tie in a story that they can identify with that connects to the point that we want to make. We also talked about the old tyranny of the urgent, where quadrant 1 activities are both urgent and important, and it's really those quadrant 2 activities like planning, vision, goal setting, building relationships. Those are the kind of areas where we as coaches need to be stronger in terms of getting people to buy into where we're trying to take them. So the workshop objectives that we have for today's meeting, in addition to just doing a review, was to really look at a review of our strengths, exploring the time management best practices. We heard some ideas from participants of how they've used block time, how they have really focused on priorities and really worked on the most important things like coaching and building those relationships and getting people to understand the importance of where we're going and why it's important. We looked at implementing a problem analysis tool, identifying strengths and gaining cooperation from others using some of Dale Carnegie's human relations principles. So there was a lot of things that we covered during our Coaching and Culture workshop last month. One of the challenges that we have with storytelling is that sometimes the message is incongruent. We might use words and the nonverbals come at us and tell us a different thing. For example, if I said something like, "I'm not mad," you might get the impression that by the tone of my voice that I'm saying something other than what my message is coming across. The words do not match the visual. And there was a study that was done by UCLA professor Albert Mehrabian, and what he found was that when the message is not matching up with the body language, we tend to believe the body language or the visual, what we see, 55% of the time. The tone of voice, whether we sound sarcastic or whether we sound disappointed or frustrated or even angry, can come through over and overshadow the words that we choose 38% of the time. And only 7% of the time is the message coming across from just the words that we're choosing. So in light of that, we must keep in mind that when we're coaching people, when we're telling stories, that we don't allow the underlying frustrations to come through, so that we are matched up with our verbal, our vocal, and our visual. So one of the other ways that we really learned to tell stories is by using what we call a magic formula. Dale Carnegie advocated this. It's part of what we train on. Maureen says that we use it all the time. We see it in commercials. We see it in presentations, political actions. There's a lot of different aspects of it. And what it is it's just a process that allows us to be more successful in making sure that the point that we want to relay really gets across. And using this formula, the first thing that we want to really focus on is the elements of the story, the incident, the evidence that we have. And an incident might be just as simple as, yesterday I walked out to the mailbox and I waved to my neighbor. It helps us create a picture in the listener's mind of where we are, what we're doing, and then from there filling in and adding the details and layering that over the incident will really help us develop our story in a much more compelling way. At the end of our story, it's very important, and this is what really makes it magic, is the action and the benefit. An action from a story, maybe you're telling a story to get people to stop doing something or start doing something. Well, in the case of an action, what is it that you want me to do? You tell them. And an action should be maybe 5 seconds, 1 sentence. What is it that you really want them to do? And then the last part is the benefit. 5 seconds of how they're going to benefit. What's in it for me as a listener in taking your advice and taking your action? So we had our chance to practice that on Wednesday. We each came up with a story, and the story had to have 3 elements. Number 1, something that we had earned the right through our personal experience and study, something that we lived through, that or we observed, that we can recall very vividly, something that we know something about. The second E is about excited. As we tell the story, there's got to be some anticipation, there's got to be some excitement, some enthusiasm for our message. Because if we're not excited about our message, our audience is going to be even less excited to hear it. So we got to make sure that in our mind, our attitude is right. We have the excitement that this is something that we're pretty committed to. And then the 3 is eager. Something that we're eager to project the value to our listener. Dale Carnegie grew up on a farm in Missouri, and his parents raised hogs. But yet, throughout history of all the Dale Carnegie writings, he never really talked about raising hogs. It wasn't something that a part of his life that he was really eager to share with his audience. So when we have a message, we want to tell a story. If our story contains something that we're excited about, we're eager to share to our audience, and we've earned the right through our own personal study, it goes much further. So we looked at some fundamentals of communications, and we're able to come up with a fact or statistic that we commonly tell customers. Maybe it's about the fact that we have been in business for 116 years and what that really means. Maybe there's a story that goes with how we have lasted so long and why that's important and why that's an important part of our culture. We came up with a fact and story, and then we were able to practice that with partners, something that has some evidence that tied to the magic formula. And as we look down the road into February and March and beyond, some of the things that we will be talking about next may include time management. How we get better at focusing on the important things first, and then being able to manage all of the distractions that we as sales leaders and managers have to deal with. Change readiness. How prepared are we to move forward in introducing new concepts, new ideas, problem analysis, critical ways of thinking about problems and how we can, use a logical approach to analyze and solve the problem. Team building, coaching. We've talked about coaching, but there are some other aspects and concepts that we would like to share with you in the following months. Be thinking about, as you look at these lists, what are some of the things that you want to see, that you maybe are personally struggling with right now, that we might be able to help you with? And as always, if you have any ideas and feedback on this, get a hold of Rick or Maureen, and our email addresses are listed right here. And we look forward to working with you in February, and in the meantime, feel free to contact us. Thank you, and have a great month.